Wiring is a task that I know not many people enjoy, and I am also one of those humans. As a mechanic, I do get the basics of it. 12-volt wiring is very simple, but when it comes to wiring an ECU, it's a task that I've actually never completed by myself. I've always had Al, who is way better at it than I am, and he's always done it. So I've always worked smarter, not harder, and I've gotten someone else to do it for me. But now, being that Kevo is my responsibility, it's a job that I have to learn. Previously, I've always just seen Al write everything down on a piece of paper, and because he is so good at it, he's got so much knowledge in his head, he just does it. Magically, a wiring loom appears and away you go. But now I've learnt that everyone does everything differently, including wiring, and I've now learnt so much more by seeing it done a different way. My mate Miller from Miller's Auto Electrics has helped me basically map out the rest of the car, and we did that by starting actually on Haltech's NSP software to begin with. So instead of scribbling stuff down on a piece of paper and then working from that, we still scribbled stuff down on a piece of paper, but we then started with Haltech NSP software and we started a base map. So straight from the get-go, we're configuring the ECU, we know what sensor goes where, and you're left with a report looking something like this. So this is, I think it's 12 pages of basically what goes where and where it needs to be wired to. And this just clicked with me. It made me understand it so much more, and now I'm feeling very confident to wire the rest of the car. The engine bay wiring loom has been done by Whitey's Wiring, but since then I actually removed the wiring loom and I've now labeled all of the connectors with the special printing heat shrink. Thank you, Miller, for loaning me that machine. It wasn't really needed. Every kind of sensor and everything, every connector had its place, but there was a couple, for example, the coolant temp sensor right next to the air temp sensor underneath the inlet manifold there. They're both a Deutsch 2-pin connector, and you probably could get them mixed up if you were in a rush. I'm sure you've seen me and my mates working on this car, and when I get down to the track, if something were to happen, I'm hoping that I also have friends around to help me work on the car. And if you're rushing, that's when things can get mixed up. So I've actually labeled every connector that is not obvious. There's a few things like the throttle body, the alternator, turbo speed sensor that are, you know that is that connector for that item, but all of the Deutsch stuff and all the sensor wiring I have now labeled. So that's been done pretty well. Another safe barrier, just so nothing can go wrong. Everyone makes mistakes, and in the situation where you're rushing to get a car back together, that's when it's most likely to happen. The wiring loom is now back in the car. I haven't got everything connected and bolted on, but for the most part, it's ready to go. This wiring loom is also serviceable. It's been designed that way with 2 bulkhead connectors on the firewall. The wiring loom can be removed easily enough if we're in a hurry. So now we need to start basically from the back of this bulkhead connector and put in our Haltech NExus R5 underneath the dash there. I've actually ordered I never realized you could get these, but you can actually get a Nexus mount, which just mounts directly to a roll cage. So that's pretty snazzy. I've got one of those coming. I've also added a few things along the way. So we're now got front shock travel, front wheel speed. We're putting in dual boost control solenoids over on this guard over here for CO2 control. So I'm also adding a PD16, which also gives us some more 25 amp outputs. That was another one. We actually ran out of 25 amp outputs, and instead of stacking relays on top of the R5, we're adding a PD16. So that's coming later this week. But for now, I've got a 5-meter wiring loom. Basically, I'm going to zip tie the ECU up under the dash there. Then we're going to work with our report and basically put every wire where it needs to go. And I'm feeling pretty confident about this. I have had a lot of help from my mate Miller. Miller is also going to come around and give us a hand, and I'm planning to get as much work done on this car as possible before the end of the week. I've had lots going on, and I want to say thanks to all the positive people in the comments, making sure that I am taking a step back and spending time with the family, because it's something that does mean a lot to me. Truth be told, I'm a bit of a stress head, and I have been peeking here in the shed a little bit by myself. So I'm going to spend as much time on Kevo as possible, but then tools down, time for the weekend. I don't think we'll get it started this episode, but we've still got heaps of progress to make. I've got nitrous to fit, there's battery wiring, CO2, I've got a parachute coming, probably won't get onto that though. Heaps of stuff to get done, and we're just gonna hook in and make it happen. Let's get it. Taking on a massive wiring job like this can be very daunting. I've been putting this off for a long time, but I'm very thankful for my legendary friends for sharing their knowledge. Haltech also have awesome customer support, either online or over the phone, and a personal shout out to Dave, who answered a lot of questions for me. Thanks, mate. Note to self, light green is not dark green. Dark green is not light green. Damn it, I had to bust out the multimeter. Because I might be colorblind. I've made a solid dent in the wiring. There's still lots to go, but pretty well. I'm left with these here, which these are for the bulkhead connectors in the engine bay. It's not everything. There still needs to be a couple of 5-volt sensor supplies, some 12 volts added into there, but for the most part, that's pretty well what we're dealing with. That is the wideband Nexus gives you wideband 1, wideband 2. This goes through the bulkhead too, so we'll snip that off. But for now, I just wanted to kind of get the loom in the car and figure out some lengths. I don't want to make it too short because it will be a bit of a pain. So, caught on the hoist. I think I might actually bring this off the hoist so that I can get the door open. Damn it.
This is what it's looking like under the dash so far. We've got the pedal box bolted up and the reservoirs mounted over here. These hoses need to get shortened. That's looking pretty good. NExus R5 over here, and PD16 hasn't arrived, so that's what we're working with for the moment. I've also got a TCA 8, which I'm gonna actually cut a hole through this support up here and mount that there, I think, just because it kind of looks pretty neat. And then all the thermocouples can come, that actually comes from, this hole here, and then it can just come up. The loom is thinned out, and I think once this kind of gets tucked up behind here like that, there's going to be a good length to the bulkheads on the firewall there. The rest of this loom needs to get, obviously there's still a lot of wiring to get done, but some of this stuff will actually get ran. We're planning to run a loom over to this side of the car and then down the guard for boost control stuff. There's also going to be additional loom on this side for headlights, wipers and the horn, and also a couple other sensors. We've got a crankcase pressure sensor, front shock travel sensor. There's the linear position. Sorry, I've got a laser ride height position sensor too. In addition to the NExus loom, there also is the PD16 loom. It's also a 5 meter loom, and that's going to be laid out through the car. I actually don't have one. I'm borrowing one off Al, so thank you for the loan, Al. I'll replace that at a later date. So from here, my back's already killing me, so I think I'm actually going to move into something else and leave some of this for Miller, because now I'm at the stage where I'm scared to cut more wires, because I don't want to cut the wrong thing. I've already messed up a couple of things already, so I want to make sure that the professionals can do the job properly, and I'll closely watch and learn. When it comes to race cars, data is king, and that's why we're using individual exhaust gas temperature sensors on Kevo. These are a K-type thermocouple supplied by Haltech. They have a huge operating range and are highly accurate when mounted correctly.
Gonna hide all the excess sins away in the little cowl there, and then bolt this sucker on. Perfect. No one will ever know, apart from everyone that's watching the video.
Cookout muscles. What do we got here? Oh. Lift with your... No, you be smart and get someone else to lift it.
Yeah.
Thanks for dropping that off, man. Appreciate it. Look what the cat dragged in before you see injection lines and get too excited. It is a petrol, but still keen. Another one added to the list. I didn't really need another engine, but this one is in better condition than the other one that I've got. So BMW N54, plus a whole bunch of JDM wheels in the back. That's another episode coming soon, but pro tip, pay someone to do it because polishing lips is annoying.
What's wrong with the one I gave you?
The one you gave me is missing a lot of stuff off it.
That's stuff you're going to upgrade anyway.
Nah, I don't know. Wasn't that one like rattly and...
No. That was a misdiagnosis.
Okay.
She's proven. 300,000 Ks ain't gonna break.
This gets me very excited because I know it means we're getting very close. Lists always help you out when you're getting towards the end of something, and slowly ticking off the jobs. There's way more to add to this too, but at least I've kind of got it out of my brain and on a piece of paper so that I can handball the tasks to Geordie.
Thanks, bro.
Going up.
Hello. The ATF speed adapter still has the starter in the standard location, but the thread is now in the adapter plate, so we have to drill out the JZ starter. It also has a little spacer plate, which I was looking at this, I didn't actually know what it was for, but now I've figured it out. This actually spaces the starter back, whatever that is, let's call it 5mm, just so the starter can engage with the ring gear properly.
Oh, you're sodding plumbing. Oh.
Making my way to the back of the car, connecting up the breathers. So we've got auto trans, which tees into the diff. There's also coolant overflow and the engine breather, which is this big bag clear hose here. I think I showed it in the previous episode, and it all feeds into this epic tank that my mate Dave from FFM Fabrication has made up. Basically, we got in there, took a measurement. I gave Dave a heap of Raceworks fittings, and this is the final product. So it sits snug. I ended up just welding up, put some bird poos on there and got the brackets on so it fits up in here. So it sits snug up in there, and basically what happens is, so it's the other way around, like that. We've got engine, breathes in through here. This is one separate compartment, and the engine will breathe from this filter. I do have a crankcase pressure sensor being added because I am a little bit concerned that it's all going to breathe from just this one 32mm orifice. It potentially could be a restriction, especially that this hose is like 4 meters long. So if it's an issue, I may run two, or we'll revise it at a later date. We've got the auto trans, and the diff tees into the auto trans. It's not a catch, it's just a catch can. It's not going to hold any fluid. It's for an emergency, and same with the coolant. If I were to lift ahead, if the radiator cap is buggered, it pushes coolant to the back here, and they've all got drains on the bottom so that I can drain them and check. So Dave left me a little note there, so if you want to support the skid factory because I've thrown the rods out and this is full of oil. I think this was actually meant to be on the top side, but whatever, I'm still happy it's there. Thank you, Dave, you're a legend. This worked out really well. It was a vision that I had from the get-go, and I just thought this little square, and it fits perfectly. So we'll bolt that up and then connect up all those hoses, make up a little bracket brace to keep it from getting smashed with tires, and we're good to go. Thanks, Dave.
full droop. That's what it hits. Yeah.
Yeah, the Commo.
You gotta write something funny on that now.
Instead of Alan, I got the next best thing, and that is the crown. I'm actually doing a wedding today, and Al can't drive, so I'm driving the tough crown, and my mate Geordie is driving the Barra wagon. So congratulations, Evo and Tiani. So we're gonna cut a hot lap later on tonight, but now it's Saturday morning, and Miller is here.
Boss man himself.
Big gun on the tools.
6 a.m. Saturdays. Why'd you do this to me?
Up and into it, mate. Work to do.
So, are you happy with my completion so far?
Chef's kiss, mate.
Sweet, awesome. So now Miller, the task is basically point and shoot. Tell me what to do. Miller's also, we're going to run the rest of the wires throughout the car, and I don't think we'll get to terminating today, but we'll make as much progress as we can. Get stuck in. Thanks, Miller. Cheers, mate.
When I picked up the crown, I also raided Al's toolbox for a spare PD16 and 5 meter harness because mine has not arrived from the postman yet. So thank you, Al. Pretty stoked to have a professional like Miller around, and it makes myself a lot more confident in doing the job. Learning a lot with Miller because he's doing it a different way that I've seen it done before. So we've got the loom now, it's laid out in sections. We do have a lot of spare wires still. They can either be depinned from the connectors and then just throw them in the bin, never use them, or you can leave them in the loom and just cut them off and leave them as unterminated. We're going to actually, are we going to heat shrink those, or are we going to put them into a DT?
No, so we'll just heat shrink them and just leave them so that they're insulated, but they're there when we need them. Because there's like 20 of them. There's no point having a 20 pin DT connector under the dash for no reason.
Yeah, so going to keep them there just in case. We have ran a few spares to the front of the car in the headlight loom, was that right?
Yep.
So the headlight loom, we've got a couple more spares, again, just in case. And then the loom that goes to the rear of the car, that also has a few more spares, both for
Everything.
You've got AVIs, DPOs.
AVIs, DPOs, 5 volts, ignition supplies to the rear.
So
everything.
Yeah. Just in case, example, I want to put a shock travel sensor on the right-hand side instead of the left-hand side. If I want to put a pressure sensor in that catch tank in the back of the car, we can do that. Not that I am going to do that just yet. Actually, no, we won't do that. So heaps of progress. Working on the makeshift bench has also been better than working on the ground. It does hurt your back. We have made a bit more progress on the car slowly too, just a few more little things getting kicked off the list. But yeah, I'm keen. Saturday shift in full swing and made lots of progress. So thank you, Miller. And I'm sure you might have spotted a lemon squash on the bench. I'm going to grab mine now because it is past lunchtime and it's time to indulge. Is that the right word? Indulge is not the right
Indulge
word,
in
is it?
some.
Kind of treat yourself.
Yeah, just treat myself, yeah. The afternoon's rolled by. Geordie and I have just done a wedding run for Evan and Tiani. Congratulations, guys. I was driving Al's car and Geordie was driving the wagon.
this thing is so cool. I want a big block so bad. This is so epic. The Harrop big block blower kits are now available through Harrop. I've just had an absolute blast driving this thing. Thank you so much, Al, for trusting me with your pride and joy. It's pretty cool to, I don't know, relive a project, and I forget how much work actually went into this thing. It drives really nice. It behaves so well. It does use a lot of fuel, but that is the big block life. So yeah, honestly, awesome afternoon. Geordie was in the Crown Wagon, and yeah, it was a good time. Thank you, mate. Now it's back on to Kevo. Just when you thought there was no more holes to be drilled in the engine bay, you've now got to run some more wiring. I'm going to have to punch some holes through here to hold this wiring in the inner guard, and I just punched one down the bottom here for a Raceworks grommet. I've got a few of these in different sizes. They are coming in handy. This stuff here is for CO2 control, so I've got CO2 solenoid up and down, and then there's also the dome pressure for the wastegate. This stuff running to the inner guard, which I've mapped out, is for shock travel sensor, wheel speed sensor, and also a laser ride height sensor. Haltech's laser ride height sensor is an awesome addition for not doing wheelies. With the addition of a shock travel sensor, this was some advice from Kai, whom basically, this does an awesome job, but there is potential that the shock still is moving. Even if you do a wheelie, potentially the shocks may need to be revalved because the shock still may be moving downward. So having a shock travel sensor on the front shocks will give us that data. This all needs to be terminated yet, all this wiring. I'm just doing some rough routing for the moment before I cut to any lengths. I just want to double check with Miller before I actually terminate any connections. We're only running a single wire to the wipers just for one speed, and that will get earthed to the body. Inside, under the cabin here, there is a dash to go in here. I've got the new Haltech dash to go in here. I do have a Mako Motorsport surround to go in here, but I actually don't have the standard Commo cluster, which is proving difficult to find one that's actually not cracked and damaged, seeing as they're all very old and been sitting in the sun inside a paddock. So I'm trying to find one that's uncracked to mount the Mako Motorsport surround and then the new Haltech dash. The dash is read via CAN, so there's only one CAN cable, which is this one that goes to the dash. I'll then daisy chain off this to go to the keypad, and I'm also going to put another keypad potentially over here or possibly in the door. These wires here, most of this stuff actually ends up over this side. There's a couple that go backwards for the line lock sensor, but pretty well there's not a whole lot going on. This will obviously get cut back to about here, give or take. So that is that. The rear loom has also been run to the back of the car, and I'm yet to terminate any of this stuff too. Again, there's lots to do with headlights, lots to do with tail lights, reverse lights, parkers, number plate lights, everything in the back there. So I'll do that at a later date. But I have had delivery from Raceworks, so I've got a lot of stuff here that I need to fit, and everyone loves a bit of an unboxing. So we've got the new battery switch. This will be also cable operated to basically, if I want to turn the battery off, I've got a cable going to the external of the car, so which will turn this off. I've got battery posts to mount. I've got a new turbo beanie, and where is my battery bracket?
turbo screen. That's the 6-inch for the front instead of the filter. I don't think the filter is going to be an issue, but just in case if it is, we then have turbo screen. That actually looks pretty cool. I like that. I'm going to leave that there now. And also some braided sleeving. So this is for a lot of the wiring we've got to do. And I've got a battery bracket down the bottom of the box to suit a yellow top gel battery. That is going to be matched up with some battery cable. So I've now got to run that stuff. I've also got another exciting part which I got given from a fan. So I'm very thankful. Thank you, Lo Guido, for the nitrous bottle. Wemble down at World Time Attack, Lo Guido approached me and said, "Hey, have you got a nitrous bottle for Kevo?" I replied with no. And about 10 minutes later, down through the car park, comes Lo Guido with this bad boy. And I'm very thankful. Thanks so much, mate. This means so much for a friend and a fan originally, and now a friend to give this to me means so much. I'm sure if you've ever had nitrous in your car, you get that squiggly feeling. It's like buying a new turbo. This just makes me very happy. I don't know, my first nitrous bottle. It's like drinking your first beer, isn't it? It's empty, it's got a little bit of air in there, but the biggest thing for this is finding a mounting position. We have got some Raceworks bottle clamps. So these guys have been sitting with the seats up the top there. Actually, they were sitting for so long. We'll mount these clamps onto the bottle, and then we'll probably place it, I believe, probably back right hand side of the car, if I can fit it down there. Potentially it might end up where the spare wheel was, but I've also got to make room for a battery too, so either or, one of them's going one side, I'm not too sure. So I'm pretty keen to fit this up, and I was waiting on, hoping have some stuff delivered today, but it's now like 4 o'clock and the postman's not coming, so unfortunately I can't get as much done as I wanted in this episode, but I'm still stoked with the progress. Hell yeah, Kevo is progressing and getting ever so close for that first fire up.
It's all moldy.
The final decision was to mount the nitrous bottle on the driver's side, and the Raceworks battery bracket is going to go where the spare wheel was previously. I'm yet to get the car on the scales, but they both should outweigh each other. I understand that it is a race car and the more weight you add, the slower you go, but unfortunately the most important things are usually the items that are the heaviest. Haltech do recommend to mount the laser ride height sensor as close to the steering rack as possible, but unfortunately there wasn't a suitable location, so I'm mounting it up under the radiator support, just a simple L bracket that can be adjusted if necessary. Another job on the to-do list is to sort out the rear brake lines on the diff, and my mate Westy has popped around to give me a hand. He is a very skilled bloke and has this awesome brake bending tool that he made himself. It seriously is the coolest handmade tool I've ever seen and bends the pipe absolutely perfectly. While he was around, we also bent up some 3/16 tube for my exhaust manifold pressure sensor, which has been mounted on the driver's side rail under the turbo intake. Quite the progress on young or old Kevo. Let's call him young Kevo. I didn't quite get as much work as I wanted done I was very ambitious thinking that we could get the wiring done within this episode. This has been 2 weeks worth of work, and unfortunately, I did say last episode we'll get it running. We haven't got it running yet. The engine bay loom is actually ready to go. I just wanted to double check my work and back probe the bulkhead connector, because the way they work, how it kind of spirals out from 1 to pin 47, you can potentially get something wrong, and I'm only a beginner. I may have stuffed something up. So I want to double check my work there. We still need to run battery power. Now that I've got that Raceworks battery bracket mounted, I'm going to pop into Super Cheap Auto to actually get a battery. I also need just some general workshop supplies. So that is going to happen at a later date. I have got other videos that I'm going to be releasing in between now and let's call it the end of October, when I've got a deadline for Kevo, which is a dyno date with Kai at Night Family Motorsport. I did also want to get the Hoff involved, and we are going to try and work something out in regards to having both Kai and the Hoff, and potentially myself on the keyboard tuning the car, or at least operating the dyno. We don't know, we're going to try and work something out at a later date, but for now, that's the date for the deadline for the dyno, and for me to get this thing running. There's still heaps of work to get done, but I'm very stoked with the progress. This, the little things that take time yet make such a difference, like a little wiring grommet or a little simple little bracket for a laser ride height sensor, which kind of makes me feel like I've accomplished a lot. And I am very stoked with how Kevo's turning out. I have got headlights, brand new headlights and parkers, which were meant to arrive today, but they haven't. And I was going to bolt the front of the car on just to kind of complete the episode, but that hasn't happened. And another legend who follows the show, Matt, has reached out to potentially paint the car. So I would like you guys to comment below your ideas on what color to go. The engine bay obviously it's not quite Sherbrooke, but it's a version of Sherbrooke green, and the car is just plain black. This actually was the factory color of the car. I'm not too sure whether to go this on the outside, potentially like a Calais two-tone. I do love a two-tone, so I'm thinking maybe the green and grey two-tone or black and green. Please comment below, let me know your thoughts on what colours to paint this car. And we're going to wrap it up there. It's been a massive week. This has been released a day late because I wanted to get some more work done on the episode. So thank you for watching. If you're not subscribed or you haven't clicked the bell or whatever you've got to do for YouTube so you get notifications to watch these videos, please do that, because I may be uploading sporadically with different days in the future. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the moment and drive safe. Cheers. If you'd like to support the show, you can join us on Patreon for a few sneaky perks, or if you just want to share this video to your mates, it really does help the channel grow. I've also been doing some live streams recently, so make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so that when I hit that live button, you can tune in. Thanks for watching, enjoy the moment, and drive safe. What's for dinner? Let's have some lasagna.
What was that? Oh, that's the drain. The little breather.
Yeah.
How does that even breathe?
It's not like a little
What a chooch.
Alright, keen? Yeah, should be good.
Is the mic on?
Oof, I'm a bit sweaty.
Don't make me run and get all sweaty.
You know the NPCs on GTA 4? Oh, the old 16-minute 26 recording. Little long one. If you want to support the show, you can click here to subscribe. You can click over here to watch another video. Click down over here to buy some merch. And if anyone's got some tips on how to get rid of those sparrows in your shed because the roller doors open this much, please let me know. Where is he? Bugger off, please. Probably going to be demonetized from the music anyway. Good tune. Bye bye.